welcome to Cybersecurity with me, Rory Duncan.
And me, Christina Richmond. This podcast is your go-to partner for understanding the cybersecurity market, industry trends, and the real-world challenges of protecting organizations today. Thanks so much for your feedback, folks. Everybody loved what Rory did with his hair and makeup, so we're back on video. What do you think, Rory?
Yep, absolutely. It was a good move, I think. And positive feedback, and we put it on the YouTube channel, folks who haven't seen it already. You can still listen to it as an audio podcast if you like through the usual links that we have. But yes, here we are. And in fact, here we are. You're in Spokane, and I'm in Edinburgh.
Got it, Spokane. Yeah,
Spokane,
and you're in Edinburgh.
And I'm in Edinburgh. And we're not in Vegas, are we, Christina?
No, where it is 111 in the shade.
I cannot believe that. And I'd looked up at the, what the price is for a bottle of water from the hotel minibar, because I've been there a few times in the past, about $30. I cannot believe it. I suppose people would say, well, you just stay in. You don't actually go outside. But I don't want to stay in for 3-4 days.
Well, that's the problem, because you get that piped in air. I mean, this is why I've avoided Vegas for so many years, because back in 2019, before we even knew that COVID was COVID, and before we knew that Wuhan had COVID cases in August of 2019, I was at Black Hat, and I got very, 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 very sick from that piped in air. It's just, folks, please, I hope you're washing your hands, using your immune supplements. And get outside if you can, even though it's so hot. Yeah.
Well, you might have to, I suppose, we all have to hydrate, of course, but I think what I used to do is I would go to CSV, which was kind of across the road from one of the hotels, where, prices were reasonably normal. But of course, that would mean having to go outside. Anyway, so let's start the show. Let's talk about the newsletter first. Christina, shout out to the new subscribers. And a call for those who are not subscribed. You can do so for free at our website, richmondadvisorygroup.com.
Yeah, and then in our latest issue that comes out today, we have some survey data that we're sharing, and it's very appropriate for our topic today. We're talking about why AI is not the only answer in cybersecurity. And so our survey data gives us a little perspective of that. I'll just give you a teaser. There is a meh zone.
A meh zone.
Which I love that you put that there.
Oh, well, that was my invention. So folks, you might not agree with it, but it's our own version of a kind of plotted graph for where we see things going.
It's a quadrant. Call it what it is. It's a quadrant.
I don't like the Q word, Christina. It kind of triggers me.
And it's it's not so magic. It's just based on data. It's not even. It's not our opinion. It's based on our survey data.
There's nothing magical at all. Harry Potter, none of these things are involved.
Or the sock puppets that you haven't brought out yet.
Oh, no. That's top secret.
It's top secret.
Yep, so sign up for free and we'll keep you in the loop about what's happening in the cybersecurity sector.
And you can also check out our shorts. We should qualify what shorts are. We mean YouTube shorts. You can check out our short videos. They're on YouTube. They're also on LinkedIn. Rory's doing a great job of putting teasers, little YouTube short teasers for the podcast on LinkedIn and in YouTube.
Yes. And it seems as if it's quite popular. I just did a quick look. Since the beginning of the year, we've had over 10,000 views on our YouTube channel.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Do we know that many people, Rory? I don't think I know that many people.
I don't know.
Do you? Wow.
Well, I don't know. Possibly. Okay. We've talked to a lot of people over time. I think if you add everybody up, Christina, that we've had briefings from and met at shows and had coffee with and bumped into and seen at a
and then
pub.
you have to add in the 6 degrees of separation. I mean, that's how we get to 10,000.
Yes, that's right. Yes, indeed, probably. So we've already given a hint of what's on the show this week, Christina. Special episode, right?
Special episode. Yeah, last week we were teasing that we didn't know what we were going to talk about this week, and we didn't. Honestly, folks, we didn't. We had a meeting where, we had like 4 or 5 ideas. And so what we're talking about, you can probably already guess, is not, it's not that AI isn't an answer, but it's not the only answer, right, Rory?
Not the only answer, exactly. And I was just mentioning to you, Christina, at the beginning, I was kind of on my soapbox, having been kind of inundated with various pitches for everything to do with AI. And it's not that it's not important, but I think leading with AI rather than leading with the security discussion is worth reconsidering.
Well, here's an example. Can I drop this in here?
Yes, absolutely. I know exactly what you're going to say.
Oh, well, I get this email this morning and I sent it over to Rory. It says, Christina, connecting agentic era insights to client outcomes. It's a sales pitch from a very human named bot.
Right.
And it's Microsoft. And then, of course, in the signature, it says automated solution agent. And underneath the address, which is Microsoft's address, it says AI generated content may be incorrect. Well, not only was it incorrect, but it was so off base. It completely misunderstood who we are, what we do, and our episodes that it was pulling from. So it's nice that Microsoft is pulling our episodes. Maybe. But don't send us these automated sales emails that are just so impersonal and wrong, frankly.
I mean, to be honest, and I think I said to you, Christina, I would rather have just a generic email that is, that is non-specific in any way, because then at least that's what it is. It's gone out to everybody who has a Microsoft account.
Yeah.
But attempting to try to specify something it's seen, which it hasn't seen, and getting it wrong is actually even worse. So I think that's a wrong move.
Well, and it's almost like this, vishing and impersonation, but it's for the good guys. They're impersonating a human being to try and extend their sales teams, and it's not well done.
No,
so if you're going to do it, go all the way. But I would suggest you not do it.
I really hope it was a test. It was maybe had escaped the lab like that agent did the other week and got into Hugging Face. Anyway, so
all right.
Well, let's start the show then, Christina.
Okay. All right. So next week's guest, just so that you folks know, and we'll mention it at the end of the show. Yeah, Russ Bentley's coming on. He's the EVP of Product Management at ZeroFox. So we've had folks from, who have we had? Netcraft and others that are competitors to ZeroFox. So it'll be great to have Russ on. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a very hot area, isn't it?
It's a hot topic. It's a hot area. That's right. DRP, digital risk protection and takedowns and all of that. So we'll hear from Russ next week.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Right, Christina. Special episode this week, and we're going to discuss why AI is not the only answer in cybersecurity. Now, it's not why is AI not the answer, it's not the only answer, and this is an important distinction. So
it is.
What are we going to talk about? I mean, we've got probably 4 or 5 key points we're leading on, including some of the things that I guess we're in violent agreement with, as in, here's where the situation is now, and then we'll go through the kind of pros and cons and so on.
Yeah, we do have some debate in there because we disagree on a few things. And I think that's always healthy, right? To have a little bit of debate. I think where we agree, Rory, is that while AI is here to stay and we all must use it, we have to be judicious and we have to keep humans in the loop, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think we've already talked about this before, and we'll be talking a bit more about it. But there is this arms race, and that's been mentioned by a number of our guests in the past. It's not that you cannot. It's not that you can choose not to use it in the same way as you can't really choose who is going to attack you with it. It's there, but it's this defense and offense balance that is there that is kind of. It's exacerbating what you have to do in order to defend from those who are using the same tools to attack you.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's good to point out that both sides exist. But I think the misconception that we're seeing today, more generally, more broadly in AI and specific to cybersecurity, is that AI can solve everything. And it can solve all cybersecurity challenges, but that's not true.
No.
Really, AI can only augment us as humans, generally, and not always effectively, like we just talked about with that sales letter. I mean, that wasn't effective and it was annoying. In fact, it had a negative impact. So in cybersecurity, AI can be very beneficial. We've talked about this, but it's not the be all and end all. You have to use it judiciously. So I think we agree on all of that, right?
Yeah, I think there's definitely nothing in there that's controversial. So we wanted to kind of start off with that, folks. We're not making any wild claims. So there's these two states, right? AI as a defender, or as a tool for defense, and then AI as a tool for attack. So let's look at the kind of things that AI tools can help with in cybersecurity. So, the first obvious one is anomaly detection and suspicious behavior. Now, that's not a new thing. Humans have been doing that for a long time, but this is about machine speed, right? So doing much more of it much more quickly.
Well, humans have been doing it, but we've also been automating it, right? So we've used machine learning, we've used earlier versions of AI to automate, and we've set rules that have helped us do the not autonomous, but to analyze anomalous behavior. That's the word that I wanted. And so we've been doing it for a long time. Think of UEBA. And other areas where we're looking for something that is out of the norm. So we've been doing that, but now we have to get to the point where we're taking all of the ingestion of that data, we're setting the rules and applying AI to it at a machine speed so that as these new anomalous or zero-day events occur, we're catching them with the bots, with the AI tools.
Exactly. And I know in the same breath, if it's about not just about the speed, it's about the volume, and it's about, let's say, incident response, because the threat intelligence incident response aspect is related to that. It's not just about detection. And you and I have talked about this a lot, right? If you give me another 100,000 anomalies or vulnerabilities, well, I'm still going to be working on the first 10,000 that you told me before. So having more of them doesn't really help. And certainly, a number of our guests have talked about it. The one thing I wanted to ask you about, which is about where AI excels as a defender, is this idea that the SOCs, the Security Operations Centers, can then focus on higher value work as it's put. Now, I'll premise this because I know you've got perspectives on this. We often hear this about AI. Well, it frees us up to do other greater things, the nice things, the more enjoyable tasks, having more coffee breaks, the things that make the most difference. And that's always been, whether it's in security, whether it's in, general productivity, whether it's in whatever, writing a letter, that's always been a central premise, right? It will take away the things that you don't want to do so you can do other things.
Right. Okay.
So,
well, I mean, it seems like you're leaning towards UBI, the Universal Basic Income, and our friend, not really, Elon Musk, not really our friend. I mean, not that we dislike him either. It's just that we don't know him. But he talks about UBI and how humans will be able to sit around and just collect income for doing nothing, for just being human. Well, maybe in some advanced civilization when we're on Mars, I don't know. But I think there is some truth in the Security Operations Center. I think in the SOC, it is true that some of the boring bits, and we've seen this with many automated SOC capabilities that we've been reviewing, whether it's the new, is it called Perception from Microsoft?
Yes, Microsoft's
Perception.
platform. Yes.
I don't know why I'm blocking that. I think it's because I got that automated bot this morning. I'm mad at them. Anyway, the perception platform, or whether it's Atom, the ATOM capabilities from IBM, or other startup companies that are automated SOC companies.
Yeah.
I think it does take away some of the boring bits. The danger here, Rory, is that we're doing two things at once. We're increasing the volume of alerts, vulnerabilities, things to pay attention to that maybe we wouldn't have paid attention to in the past, while also trying to automate some of the triage, some of the investigation, the look into the threat intelligence, the look into the threat actors, in order to help us with recommendations for incident response. It's a seesaw, because you're getting so much data on the one hand that is increasing your overall load. And yeah, you've got the machine working on that overall load. I don't know that the zero-sum gain is exactly what we're hoping for. It has to be tuned so appropriately. So again, back to the humans in the loop, we have to have humans with critical thinking and judgment, right?
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct. I think it's probably worth looking then at what kind of things are we up against, as in,
well,
hopefully not you and I, but at the same time, where, how things have evolved such that we have to have AI-based defense.
Well, before we go there, I'm just curious, where does AI... the securing of, or the investigation of AI generated code or AI governance, is that defense or is that infrastructure management? Because we're hearing a lot from startups that do the CI/CD and software development lifecycle that is being AI generated. They're looking at that code and then remediating that code, ostensibly before it's even out in the wild. Is that defense? Is that just infrastructure? So I just don't know where to put it. I guess before we get to AI as an attacker. What do you think?
No, I have perspective on that. I think if you look at what happened with cloud, cloud was its sort of own thing for many years and then became part of infrastructure. So when you talk about digital infrastructure now, you're really talking about something that's cloud-based, right? And I think the same thing will happen with AI. In other words, it's leading with, AI governance is really just going to be a part of a infrastructure, part and parcel of that.
Right.
It's not going to be about AI. It's going to be about security. And that's where there has been this differentiation. I think, as I said, or I gave some feedback to somebody who was trying to pitch us on a story today, I said, look, everybody's pitching AI, but we want to know about what the security aspects are, because AI is another tool in the arsenal. There's all these other things. And I know that perhaps it's the AI fatigue talking. I know it's something that everybody's talking about. But the time when AI is seen as something new and unique and as a separate task, process, a separate consideration to anything else has gone. We have to talk about where it is in the infrastructure play.
Yeah.
We have to talk about it where it is within the whole consideration of your, the digital economy and everything else. It has to be considered in the same way that we do with cloud, with data, and all those other fundamental things, applications.
So the use of AI in the CI/CD and software development, the investigation and triage of that software that maybe is improperly coded and is creating vulnerabilities, the discovery of the vulnerability or the improper code, and the remediation of that, you would place that in infrastructure. And I think you're right. I have to agree with you. And it's being washed as a security defense. So we have to be careful, folks, how we look at the companies that are doing more, I mean, it'll become clear as we start to delineate these different buckets, I think, as the industry matures.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. So let's talk about what kind of attacks. Now, I know folk listening may have heard of probably most of these, but it's important to say, okay, what are the AI attackers doing? So this is whether it's nation states, whether it's groups, whether it's individuals, although, of course, we've seen from things like the DBIR, IBM study, CrowdStrike just had a threat hunting study, which was came out. Was it threat awareness? Anyway.
Yeah, it came out just recently. It was good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
It was very good. But, talked about where a lot of these things are coming from. And a lot more is coming from, nation state threat actors, large organized e-crime. The days when it was the individual hacker sitting in a room isn't really, isn't as relevant now.
The 400-pound person who lives with mom and is in the basement hacking people. I think it's been 20 years since that was true. But now it's the 400-pound, bot that is generated by many, many servers.
Many servers.
Yeah.
And it's those bots that are then bringing some, let's say, new phrases and new types of attacks. So, AI-generated phishing campaigns have been around, for a while. It's not that it's a new thing, but they become more sophisticated. So we've got vishing, which is the video version of that.
And that's getting so much better.
It's
with
so
AI.
much better.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's scary how realistic it is. They can take somebody's, like this. They could vish off of this podcast. Don't do it. Don't do it. But they could take our image, our video image, and use it then to create a campaign using the video and whatever they want us to say.
That's right.
Are we real?
Are we real? If you see us and we're too serious and not really being very professional about things, that's not us.
That's not us.
It's not us.
Wait, are we usually professional, Rory? I'm just making sure.
I hope
I don't
not.
know. I think it's the balance of being our own unique brand of silly while also having very serious discussions about real-world cybersecurity issues.
That's, if anybody asks, that's our strategy for not being vished or not being deepfaked.
That's right.
So deepfakes, I'm talking about that, deepfakes and impersonation attacks. So we mentioned earlier about some of the companies that do executive protection, which is a kind of an emerging concern, a viable business.
Yeah, like the chat we had with NISOS, that executive protection stuff that they do, I think is really interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And then there was a couple of other things, and I read about this recently, that automated vulnerability discovery and exploitation. And Apple has recently had to cap the number of vulnerabilities per person being claimed through their bug bounty program because it was just going off the chart. Clearly, you can use this to attack and discover the vulnerabilities.
Well, and so bug bounty programs, I think, are really interesting. And what's going to happen with them as we get better and better at discovery with AI? Why should we pay humans? Humans have made a ton of money in bug bounty programs being the hacker in a white hat environment. Maybe they're a black hat hacker, but they're selling their wares. They're going out and discovering what is a vulnerability that exists or what could be penetrated, in a sort of a pen test, but more in a vulnerability environment. And then saying to XYZ company, well, I discovered this, pay me the money for discovering this. And, folks like HackerOne have done this for a millennia. So what's happening to the human white hat hacker getting bug bounty money now that they can use AI? I don't know.
Is it gonna go to the bots?
Yeah,
we pay them virtually. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We could create some kind of a bot coin and give them credits when they find vulnerabilities.
Why don't we just give them memes? Just give them memes. We won't do coins. We'll do memes.
Cat videos. That's a currency.
Cat videos. Where was that Reddit for the bots? We haven't talked about that in a while.
I don't know what happened.
Well, probably if the bots are still talking about us behind our backs in that, whatever it was called, it was a Reddit for AI, and the agents were talking amongst themselves. If we start giving them cat videos, they're going to be really upset. They'll probably start the revolution there. So we'll have iRobot born in the Reddit channel because we're giving them cat memes. Yeah.
Exactly. Fine. Okay, that's it. We've solved that one as the incentives for the bots. Is cat memes. So let's move on. So let's talk about the human in the loop and where this counter argument comes in, because of course that was the premise for the discussion, right? I think the first point, which is maybe very obvious, but AI is great at identifying, for example, patterns, only certain types, not all, pattern recognition, but it doesn't recognize A, the context, B, any organizational priorities, or C, what the risk appetite happens to be, right? That's a key differentiator. Now, others would say, well, it's getting better all the time, but it's still not there. And I think as it gets closer to those, being better at those three things, it gets more and more difficult to finesse, right? There's a kind of a point at which it's going to get very close, but not necessarily all the way there.
It's not going to get all the way there. I mean, I always come back to the deserted island. If you put AI on a deserted, island, and you give it whatever, AI needs, I guess, a server and you wouldn't, because it's a deserted island. So, could it think for itself? Well, no. Could it come up with ideas? No, it needs data. It needs to be fed data. And I know it's a dumb example, but it's a real example in the sense that humans will always have the life force, the soul, the you could call it anything, that inspiration. Sometimes people call it, a higher entity, a godlike entity, whatever it is. We will always have that breath of life that is breathed into us, whereas the machine won't. And so, it's never going to be able to, just down to the basics, what you said, the business context, organizational priorities and risk appetite. You could tee it up to look at your risk appetite once the humans have debated it. Sure. Yeah. That's just a ones and zeros conversation.
Yeah. So I think we can agree on that. If Tom Hanks was an AI agent, then that Castaway movie would be a bit boring, don't you think?
I do. I think it would just be sitting there in a dead space. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. Fine. Okay, well, we're in agreement with that. So then, what is it that the humans provide? We've talked about what the bots can't provide, and also where the human is. And if you're not that I am, but the best of the best security analysts have intuition, ethics, accountability, and that's something that AI can't replicate. That's one of the other counter arguments.
Yeah, and it's also about how we humans interact with each other, because ideation is born of that je ne sais quoi, that you're speaking, I'm speaking, all of a sudden we go, oh, there's an idea together. It's that thing that happens amongst humans where I don't see it happening in AI.
No, exactly. Or maybe on that Reddit thread or forum, but we haven't
not
looked at it
letting us
recently.
in. Well, do they let us in? Maybe they're not anymore, Rory. Maybe they've blocked you.
Maybe I suppose you would have to masquerade as a non-human identity to get in there. Possibly. But I don't really fancy joining that particular forum. So I think in conclusion on that point, which is the best outcomes, right, is where AI as a support tool, mechanism, process, technology for security professionals, not replacing them. In the same way that, having, vibe coding is awful if you're not a programmer or if you don't understand code, but it can be a really useful tool if you are an experienced programmer. It's all these things. If you're a musician, there's some great electronic tools and digital audio workstation tools that you can use to support what you're doing. It's that argument, right?
Yeah. It's support rather than replacement.
Yeah. And it's,
So I have a question for you then. This is where I think we need to kind of open up the discussion a little bit more. Do we think AI has limitations, therefore? I mean, we've obviously been sort of, saying that it has limitations in the human realm. But is it a magic bullet for the attacker because of the efficiencies gained, because of the breadth and depth and speed with which it can attack? Or is it also a magic bullet for the defender because of the speed with which it can find anomalous behavior or vulnerabilities, triage, make recommendations? Where is the limit, Rory?
Well, I mean, I don't believe in magic bullets.
Or magic quadrants, for that matter.
Magic quadrants, for that matter, but we shouldn't. We should be careful about how we talk about that.
Yeah. Why do you think they're listening?
I'd be very surprised. However,
me too.
If you are, we're just sort of riffing, folks. There's nothing
we
serious.
Don't mean any harm.
No, exactly. I think the stakes are higher for defenders, I think, because the defenders have this sort of responsibility, accountability, and ethics for what they're doing and who they're representing. I think the attackers could go all out and say, here, have complete autonomy, and then just watch the world burn, right? There are some who are like that. Where it's e-crime, where it's the objective is to make money, you can't just go full out and destroy everything, because then you would destroy your source of income. Right. But there is a much bigger potential for the attackers to do that kind of thing if they want. It's sort of back to the whole, if everybody has nuclear weapons, then that's a kind of a deterrent, right? In theory, but it doesn't stop those who don't really care about what happens from pushing the button. And that's always been the case. Trying to identify and figure out who is crazy enough to do that on the basis of it would destroy everything. And I think that's the same thing here. In a way, there are individuals and groups who are intent on destruction and will use AI for that purpose. And then there's others who are intent on making money and then will do it in a different way. I think that's the danger. The defenders have to kind of keep things going and maintain the status quo against those who would try and destroy everything. What do you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I 100% I agree. But I think we have to look at one of the biggest limitations that AI has, in my opinion, is that it relies on the ones and zeros that we give it. Mm-hmm. And we're giving it a lot. I mean, it's got the whole internet at its robotic fingertips. It's got books. It's got, all the textbooks on everything. It's got a lot of data, but again, it can't open up our human brains and get our judgment, our intuition, our ethics, our reasoning, our ideation. And you put this in the notes. I thought it was fascinating that there's a view that training data is running out.
Running out, yeah. Well, the internet. So here's the thing, right? There was the internet, and then the first AI models started to train on it. Vast amounts of data.
Yeah.
But then they finished. Okay, we need more. Well, the internet hasn't expanded in the same way since then. And unfortunately, anything extra that's being added is becoming increasingly AI generated. So it's like the snake eating its own tail.
Yeah. The Ouroboros.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was one of the suggestions. Hey, can we not just train the AI on AI generated stuff? But it's like taking a piece, a document and photocopying it again and again and again. Eventually it just degrades into noise. Yeah. Initially you would have this kind of lowest common denominator of crap in there, and then it would just generate into noise. So there is an inherent risk there that it can only get smarter by being trained on new data. Where's the new data coming from? Well, if we only use what they're generating, they're not going to get very far. So we really need more humans to create more data. If the AI is going to get smarter based on the first generation when it had the internet there. I think the other thing is that people are starting to then restrict what they put onto the internet. There's this thing about, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the very smart investor said, I keep telling startups these days, if you've got some kind of IP or whatever, don't publish it. Don't publish it. Do not do a patent, because it'll just be scraped. Sell it. Don't publish. So if you get into that situation where everybody is kind of firewalling their IP and their content, then suddenly the models run out of training data. And that's...
it becomes AI slop, generating AI slop. So it's GIGO all over again, garbage in and garbage out.
Garbage out.
Yeah. So I think, AI has incredible capabilities for cybersecurity, right? No argument there.
I agree.
But it's not a strategy.
No.
It shouldn't be your whole security program. It's a set of tools. It's technology like anything else we've integrated into our stack, right? But these tools are being used as much as any other tool in the past has been and will be used by attackers, right?
Yep.
So the strongest defenses, as usual, right? People, process, technology, and governance, right?
As a collaborative operation. Now, I mean, my initial thoughts were that if it's about people, processes, technology, and governance, the strongest of the cyber attacks or attackers also exhibit this collaboration, but not at the same level or consistently. And that's perhaps a little naive, because I know that we have hinted at that. And if we look at some of the criminal organizations out there, particularly in places like, well, we talked about it on earlier shows, North Korea, Vietnam, there were some other places where these threat actors are actually large concerns, big operations, right?
Yeah. Nation state or cyber crime, we've long said, right, are better funded in some cases than the enterprise. Certainly when you're looking at a Citibank, they've got a massive cybersecurity program, very well funded. They also outsource a lot of what they do to many different partners to help bolster their program. And they do cybersecurity quite effectively. They have to, because they're in finance, they're regulated, because, people depend on their visa. But I would say that the attacker has always been better funded and really only has to be right once. Whereas the defenders have to be right, I would say 100% of the time, but at least 80 to 90% of the time in order to find the attacker. So nothing's changed. I think the consistency, on the attacking side, they can't be 100% consistent with AI. They're just better funded and have more tools quite often. And then the defenders can't always be consistent because they are always playing catch up.
Yeah, no, it's true. We created this. I'm saying we, not you and I, but these tools have been created.
Not that we know of.
Well, I hope not. They were created, and they are out there, and the bad guys will be using it to do bad things, and the good guys will have to try and figure out how to stop what they're doing.
So let's talk about what folks, just to wrap up, let's talk about what you need to be thinking about, right? Human expertise is still the ultimate safeguard. You have to really consider your own judgment, your graybeards, your expertise. I loved your statement, if Skynet had a kill switch and or a human as the final decision maker.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Terminator would have been a really, really short movie.
It would have been really short. Done.
Skynet's coming online. Quick, off.
Quick, off.
Right.
Yeah.
The end.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do have to have kill switches, and I know that people are starting to build those. So automation, it should be increasing our effectiveness, right? Yep. Not eliminating our responsibility.
Yep. We've talked about this before. Trust and responsibility, they go together.
They do.
We've seen this in with the governments, with the free press, as society, as people living together. Both these things can happen. You cannot have a culture and a society and a town or city that works without complete lawlessness, because you've got trust and responsibility. So we should never, therefore, outsource the ultimate responsibility to a bot, agent, or LLM. right?
Well, I
think
agree on
we're
that one.
fine. So then
Yeah,
what
and
about...
then the net, right? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if we're going to give a kind of a takeaway as to what organizations should do, Christina.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I think resilient organizations have to combine things, right? Like any other technology, they have to combine AI, the legacy automation that they've been building for years, add in the AI capabilities where appropriate, make sure you have the skilled professionals, the effective governance around the entire program, your humans and your AI, and then a strong security culture, and you have to have a layered defense in depth. It's, it's still around where you have a layered approach to security. What do you think, Rory?
Yeah. I would add
Anything
to
we
that.
haven't? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would add to that. Don't be evil is probably a good one.
Yeah. Don't be a bad actor.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's it, because many of the bad organizations exhibit those capabilities, but it's about intent, I suppose. So yeah, and that's pretty much what we think.
Do you think we'll ever get to what, one of those Star Trek episodes where they went and found, this idyllic society where nobody was evil, nobody ever did anything that was destructive. They were always kind and supportive. I think it's not human nature. I don't think it's in our nature. I think we have that yin and yang. So we say this, folks, don't be a bad actor, but it's something that in cybersecurity we're always rooting out and we're always looking for. And it does take not just the AI bots to do it. It's helpful, but it takes our human judgment as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I like your Star Trek analogy in this. It would be great to think...
you would.
It would be great to think that was the case. But I could imagine it, you would be in disguise visiting a planet, and if they're pre-warp, then you have to go in disguise and not say that you know about this technology. But you'd be there in this little village and somebody would come running out going, I've just invented this great technology. It's called AI. And everybody would go, woo! That's the time to beam out of there, I think.
Okay, so we're devolving. We should probably wrap the show.
That's right.
Rory.
We should call in the brown team and they'll sort it out for us.
For folks who don't know what we're talking about, we were talking about red teams and blue teams, a la pen testing, and then someone was talking about green teams that actually do the implementation of the new triaged capabilities that you need to have in place. So it's the green team, and we said, what about the brown team when everything is going to seed, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah. No, I think it's valid, and I think there'd be some interest in that. I know we talked a bit about Black Hat this year, but I think we should have a Brown Hat conference.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And that would capture all of those terrible things that happen.
Oh, we really have devolved, yes.
Folks,
okay.
Thank you. A quick reminder that next week's guest is, I'll just consult my notes here, is Russ Bentley, who's the EVP for Product Management at Zero Fox. So we look forward to having Russ on board. And how can folk contact us, Christina? How can you reach out?
You can find me at Christina at richmondadvisorygroup.com and Rory
at richmondadvisorygroup.com. But if you like, maybe you would prefer, there is an email address for general inquiries, and that is info@richmondadvisorygroup.com.
And it's not a bot.
It's not a bot.
Actually looked at by humans, by us, and we respond. If you are a human writing to us with something that is not spam, we will respond to you.
We will respond.
Personally.
We will respond. Personally, that's for sure. Yeah. Thanks for listening, folks. We hope you can tune in again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.